This is where I usually say, welcome to another in a series of NJAPM webinars. But today is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be straining our minds with unanswerable ethics issues or wonky discussions of mediator neutrality. Today, Hope Honeyman is going to start us on a journey of stress reduction for ourselves and for our clients. Hope is a licensed clinical social worker with 23 years of experience working with people to help resolve anxiety, depression, and trauma. She's a certified open heart mediation instructor, meditation instructor, and did her foundation work in mindfulness mediation at Penn Program for Mindfulness. In addition to counseling individuals, Hope teaches an 8-week mindfulness meditation training class. Now, before I turn this over to Hope, let me just mention that I have put out a couple of notices asking for volunteers to work on next year's webinars. I've had some good response, but I have not received a response from anyone who wants to take responsibility for putting on the webinars themselves, being the on-air personality, working with the people who might be being interviewed, etc. If you want to take responsibility for putting on the actual webinar, being the on-air person, please let me know. So with that plug, so Hope, it is now yours.
Thank you very much, Carl. And after that introduction, I would like to introduce all of you to your brains. So this is your brain. You may be used to the old commercial, this is your brain on drugs, but that is not what I'm saying. So if you could all make a fist like this with your thumb actually inside, there you go. And so if you imagine the length of your arm as your spinal cord, and maybe from your wrist up until the middle of your palm being your brain stem. And then this is your limbic system. It goes right into your limbic system, which is the seat of your emotions. This little thumb right here is your amygdala, which is the home of your fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. And we'll talk a lot about that. And this is your cerebral cortex. This is what you rely on during mediation to think, to plan, to execute. Now, the problem is when we get stressed, when we feel threatened in any way, our cerebral cortex goes offline. So you've heard the phrase, flip your lid. That's exactly what happens when we get anxious or fearful. And our limbic system goes online immediately to respond to a threat. It only knows 4 responses: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. It takes a full 20 seconds for the thinking part of your brain to come online. And none of us have the luxury to afford to wait 20 seconds to get back to rationality. And so what I'm going to teach you today are lots of skills to bring your cerebral cortex back online so that you can function calmly in a situation of stress. And this goes for professional as well as in your personal lives. And my hope is that you'll be able to take away these skills not only for yourselves, but if you have a client who's anxious, that you may be able to teach them some of these skills as well. So we all know that a little anxiety is great for performance, but a lot of anxiety can throw us off track. And so what we want to be in a place of calm, clear thinking and connection. The first skill that I want to teach you to get us to that point is called havening. And I promised in the little teaser that I sent Carl, that I would be teaching you some breakthrough techniques, some of the newer techniques in stress reduction, as well as some tried and true techniques. So havening is not that well known, unless you watch PBS and happen to have seen Dr. Amen's plugs for his books and things. And Dr. Amen teaches this skill. So havening activates the nerve endings in your skin in order to produce delta waves in your brain. And delta waves are the waves that are produced in the third stage of sleep that are involved in memory consolidation. And we'll see why this point is so important in just a few minutes. So havening can be done 3 different ways. The first way is called washing your hands. And so if you would just, with me, stroke the palms of your hands, and you will notice that when you do this, and this should be done fairly gently, feels kind of good, and you're activating the nerve endings in the palms of your hands. And so I'm going to put my hands down because it's hard to keep them up. But if you continue to do this and just repeat to yourself, I feel safe, calm, and peaceful. And let's change that phrase to I choose to feel safe, calm, and peaceful. Or you may simply say, I'm safe, calm, and peaceful. And just notice what happens inside as you say these phrases to yourself. I feel safe, calm, and peaceful. Very soon, you may notice a relaxation starting to take place. The second way to do havening is, and if you wear glasses like me, I'm going to ask you to take them off, is you're going to take your fingertips and put them against your hairline. And then you're just gradually going to move down your face, kind of like a waterfall of relaxation, repeating the line, I am safe, calm, and peaceful. I am safe, calm, and peaceful. I am safe, calm, and peaceful. The third way to practice havening, and this is my favorite, everybody has their own, is to place an opposite hand on each shoulder. And this is called give yourself a hug. And what you're going to do is gently run your hands down the length of your arms. You can stop at your elbows if you choose to, or you may go to your wrists, or you may go all the way to the tips of your fingers so that you're actually incorporating wash your hands in addition to give yourself a hug. So it doesn't matter what length you go to. It's just what's comfortable for you. And so once again, bringing your hands down from your shoulders all the way down and repeating to yourself, I am safe, calm, and peaceful. I am safe, calm, and peaceful. I am safe, calm, and peaceful. You may practice this with your eyes open or your eyes closed. So I just did this with a client actually this morning, and she gave me permission to share this with you. She runs very anxious and she's a ruminator. So she will talk on and on about what is making her anxious. And I interrupted her as she was telling her story. And I said, let's try this technique. And I taught her the havening technique. And by the end of the session, she usually says to me when we do talk therapy, "Thank you so much, Hope. I feel so much better." Today, she said that too, with one difference. She was able to make the relaxation happen for herself. It wasn't because of an interaction with me. It was simply because she was practicing a skill that she could use for herself to bring herself and her anxiety level way down. It was a beautiful victory for her. What you can do, in addition to using those phrases, I feel safe, calm, and peaceful, is if you are working with a client, let's say you have some reactivity towards a client. Maybe they're irritable, maybe they're obnoxious. We have those clients. You can use the havening technique prior to meeting with them to say, I can choose to feel calm. I can choose to feel kind. I can choose to feel patient. I can choose to feel empathetic and compassionate. And in that way, you can enter the mediation or the meeting with the client less reactive than you might have. You might also want to teach that same exercise to clients. Maybe if you do divorce mediation, they can enter the mediation in a much different state. I'm actually feeling the physical effects just teaching this to you. There are waves of calm coming over me. It is an amazing practice. So the more you do it, the more you will feel it. The other way to practice havening is there's an aspect of havening called transpirational havening. It's a very fancy phrase, which just means you repeat the anxious story to yourself while you're practicing one of the three havening techniques, either washing your hands, washing your face, or giving yourself a hug. So, for example, Carl and I were talking a little bit about the state of the world before we started our Zoom meeting today. So if you are anxious about what's going on, you might practice havening and do something like tell your story. So it may sound like, I'm so upset about what's happening in the Ukraine. I feel so for those people. And I'm worried about the state of the world. I'm worried what Putin's going to do and Russia's going to do. And on top of all of this stress, I've just been through 2+ years of the pandemic, wearing masks, and all of this stress is really getting to me. I feel helpless. I feel out of control. And so you get the idea. And what's happening here is we are presenting our bodies and our brains, our nervous system, with two different forces. Number one, we're talking about the anxiety, but we're coupling it with this anxiety reduction technique, and the two are meeting. So remember that I talked about that this technique produces delta brain waves that are active in the memory reconsolidation phase of sleep. And so what's happening is we are pairing the source of our anxiety with anxiety reduction, and this is being incorporated in our memories. So we're actually installing something else in our brains that acts almost as an agonist for the anxiety. So I invite you to practice havening, to practice it with yourself, to practice it with your clients, and to let me know how it goes. I'm going to give you a handout at the end of this session, or rather, Carl will send it out to you, and it has my contact information on it. And so I really invite you all to write me, call me, let me know how things are going with all of these skills. And if you have any questions about them, we'll have time after my presentation. And if I don't get to them all, you're invited to contact me. So the second skill I want to teach you is called Polarity Breathing. And this is a skill that I use before I do energy healing with my clients. And it basically balances the energy system. So believe it or not, we have an electromagnetic system in our bodies. If my brain wants to send a message to my hand to move, what it does is it sends an electrical signal down the myelin sheath of the axon of our nerves, and the electrical message jumps from the end of one nerve cell to the end of another nerve cell until it reaches my hand, and it moves my hand. So as a result of all of these electrical signals, we have a magnetic field around us. Now, you may remember from grade school when you worked with magnets that magnets have a north end and a south end. And if we connect the south end of a magnet to the north end of another magnet, they attract. And so we say that the magnetic field is in coherence. But if we take two like sides and put them together, they're going to repel either way. And so what we say is that the magnetic field is out of coherence. What that means for you is you want your polarity in your body to be in coherence, not incoherent. Because if it is out of balance, then you get that feeling of waking up on the wrong side of the bed. You're clumsy, you may walk into things, drop things, you may not be thinking clearly. And so I use this skill every morning. It's very quick, it's very easy, and it just balances the system. So we start by putting our hands over our hearts. And you'll notice that one hand is over the other. It doesn't matter whether your right is over your left or vice versa. What does matter is that you end up with the same hand on top as when you started. And so what we're going to do is to clear our minds as much as we are able to. And we're going to take nice, gentle, normal breaths in and out of our nostrils. And you're going to take 3 breaths with one hand on top. And then we're going to switch and take 3 more breaths with the other hand on top. And then we're going to switch our hands again and take 3 more breaths. And in that way, what we're doing is we're stimulating each hemisphere of the brain. It's called bilateral stimulation, and balancing our polarity. So let's do this together. Put one hand on top of the other on your hearts. And when you're ready, take 3 nice, gentle breaths. You're now invited to change the position of your hands so that the bottom hand is on top, and take 3 more breaths. And finally, switch your hands. And once again, take 3 more breaths. And just notice how you're feeling after having taken those breaths. Notice how you're feeling in your body. Notice the state of your mind. Is your thinking muddied, clouded, or is it calm and clear? Just notice. When we do these breathing exercises, I want to just put it out there that if you start to feel lightheaded, I would caution you just to either breathe slower or maybe stop the exercise. Okay, sometimes that happens when you're new to breathing. If you practice these things, you'll get used to it and you won't be lightheaded after a while. The second breathing practice that I want to teach you is 4 square breathing. And if you can count to 4, you can master this exercise. So 4 square breathing is made up of 4 full breaths. Each breath is made up of 4 parts, and each part is 4 seconds long. So the 4 parts of the breath are the in-breath, holding your breath, the out-breath, and holding your breath again. So I'm going to walk you through this and put on a timer. No, maybe I'm not. Okay, I'm going to count for you. So what we're going to do, you don't have to put your hands on your heart. You can leave your hands down. And we're going to do 4 full breaths together. Okay, so again, these are in and out through the nose. You don't have to go exhale through your mouth. You don't have to do any fancy diaphragmatic breathing. They're just normal breaths. Okay, so let's begin. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. And hold your breath, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Once more. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. And hold, 2, 3, 4. So again, just go inside, close your eyes for a moment, and notice your emotional state. Notice how you feel in your body. Notice the qualities of your mind. Feel into your heart. Notice what emotions are present. And come back to the room when you're ready. There are lots of tutorials on YouTube to walk you through this. There are apps for the telephone that count these things out. 4 square breathing is pretty popular, and actually Navy SEALs are taught this skill to manage the stress that they have. What's nice about using these breathing exercises is that your breath is portable. It's free. You don't have to buy any fancy equipment to reduce your stress. I do it everywhere. I do this exercise on Patco. I do it when I'm waiting in the line in the grocery store. I do it before a session with a client, anywhere. I did it before I signed on with Carl today for this presentation. So it's really easy. It's really fast to do. And there are variations on breathing exercises. There's the 4-7-8 breath that was popularized by Dr. Andrew Weil, which consists of breathing in for 4 seconds, holding your breath for 7 seconds, and exhaling for 8 seconds. All of these skills you do in a series of 4 or more, but at least 4 full breaths. And the idea is to practice them twice a day if you can, once in the morning and once in the evening when you're not stressed. And then if you want to add it during your day when you are stressed or before a stressful situation, you may do that as well. If all of this is too difficult, if you can't count to 4 and you can't remember 4, 7, 8, then just remember this: a simple inhalation and then an extended exhalation, at least 2 or 3 seconds longer than the inhalation, is enough to calm your nervous system. So, for example, if you breathe in for 4 seconds and you exhale for 6 or 7 seconds, you will still be producing the same calming effects that you would do with 4 square breathing or 4, 7, 8 breathing. So let's just try breathing in for 4 and breathing out for 6 or 7 seconds. And let's take 3 breaths like that. And I'll let you do that on your own rather than me counting for you, so it's at your pace. Go ahead. Coming back to the room when you're ready. And once again, just noticing the effect that this so simple exercise has had on your state of being. I have one more really cool exercise to teach you before we get into some mindfulness. And this one involves imagining a picture frame or a chalkboard. In the old days, we used to call it a blackboard, but now they call it a chalkboard. And so imagine one of these things with a word written on it. And the word is the emotion that you're dealing with. So the word could be anxiety, the word could be sadness, the word could be anger. It doesn't matter. And I've taken the liberty of writing the word anxiety on this Post-it pad. So if you think of this as a picture frame or a chalkboard, and what you're going to do in the exercise is close your eyes and move your eyes underneath the closed lids. And you're going to move them in a specific pattern. So you're going to start on top at 12, if we look at this as a clock. And then you're going to move your eyes to 3, 6, and 9. And you're going to do this 3 times. So you're just going to breathe and imagine the word and move your eyes to these points 3 full times. And then you're going to reverse the eye movement so that you're going to move in this direction, counterclockwise 3 times. You get the idea. So pick an emotion that you're feeling. Most of you are probably pretty calm now, and we want to work with something that's not calm. So maybe think of something that got you a little anxious or angry or upset in the recent past. Write the word for that emotion on your internal chalkboard or in your picture frame. And close your eyes and start moving your eyes, going from the top to the side, to the bottom, to the side, and then up again in a clockwise motion. 3 full times all the way around, and then reversing the direction and going 3 full times in the opposite direction, hitting all 4 points. And then, if you like, you may reverse again and move your eyes 3 times in a clockwise direction. And then reversing once more and moving your eyes 3 times counterclockwise. You may do this as long as you want, as long as you repeat full cycles of each 3 times clockwise and 3 times counterclockwise. And so the invitation is to come back again, opening your eyes and noticing how you feel. So for the remainder of this presentation, I'm going to take you through a short mindfulness meditation practice. And I'm going to let you know that mindfulness is a skill that is developed over time. I teach an 8-week mindfulness course that gets folks up and running to start their own practice of mindfulness. So I would encourage you not to be critical of yourselves if during this first exposure to mindfulness, if you don't find yourself mastering it. I do want to give you a caveat as well. In order to do mindfulness meditation, you do not have to have a blank mind. That is a myth. Lots of people think that, but in actuality, our minds are wired to think. So you don't have to have a clear mind when you do this. If your mind wanders, just bring it back to whatever it is I'm asking you to focus on. And don't spend any time beating yourself up. It's not necessary. This is what all of our minds do. So, first of all, what is mindfulness? You've read a lot about it. You've heard a lot about it. Every self-help magazine in the world writes about it. And maybe you've even tried your hand at it. Mindfulness, the best definition that I like is mindfulness is purposely paying attention in the moment with clarity and compassion and without judgment. So remember, I just told you not to beat yourself up if your mind wanders. That's where the compassion comes in and where the lack of judgment comes in. We want to be present when we're paying attention. We don't want to split our attention. So we want to be fully immersed as much as we can in whatever we're focusing on. In order to practice this, I'm going to ask you, if your feet already are not on the floor, to put them on the floor and to sit in your chair kind of in a relaxed, straight position. So not a ramrod straight, not military straight, but just so the back of your head is nicely aligned with your spine and your shoulders are relaxed. You feel the seat of your chair underneath you, and you feel your feet making contact with the floor. And your hands can be placed loosely in your lap, on your thighs. And when you're ready, you may close your eyes. If you're more comfortable keeping them open, you may keep them open. I prefer closed eyes. It's up to you. And we'll begin. So just allowing yourself to start by feeling the breath in the body. The easiest places to feel the breath are in the belly as it rises and falls, or in the chest as it moves with the inhalation and the exhalation. Feeling the natural tides of your breath in the body coming in and out. And I use the word feeling because mindfulness is not so much about thinking about the breath, but really blending your awareness with it and feeling it. So in this moment, the invitation is to feel the very gentle rising and falling of the belly or the chest, and the very subtle expansion of the body. Even the sides and your back as you breathe in, and the very subtle contraction as you breathe out. And just breathing and being. We all have busy days ahead of us, and it's natural for our to-do list to pop up in our minds. And so if it does, just noticing it and coming back to the breath as best as you can. We don't have to be perfect at this. We just keep practicing moment to moment. Mixing your attention with the breath. Allowing the breath to breathe you. Surrendering to it. And you may notice that each breath is different from the one before. There's no need to compare. Simply being with the breath that is coming up right now in the body. And as you breathe, you may notice that the mind wanders. This is perfectly natural. And so when you notice that the mind has wandered off, gently escort your attention back to the breath. No judgment, no self-criticism. The moment you notice that your mind has wandered is a moment of mindfulness. So coming back to the breath. Riding the breath the way you might float on the surface of the ocean on a raft, gently feeling the waves. Being present in this moment. Knowing that we only have this moment. Often the mind will jump to things that will happen in the future, or it jumps back to the past, regretting, rehashing. And so if that should happen, just coming back to this breath and this moment. Bringing yourself back as many times as you need to. And as we come to the end of our breath meditation, just feeling what this short meditation has done for your being. Noticing what it has produced for you. And thanking yourself for giving yourself the gift of relaxation and stillness. Coming back to the room, letting your eyes gently flutter open, perhaps wiggling your toes and your fingers, and slowly bringing yourselves back. So this concludes my presentation, and the invitation is to open up the floor, and I invite any questions you may have. I know, Carl, you often start off with a lot of questions, so feel free.
Carl, you're muted.
The one thing I was thinking of, but then I don't sure it's a good idea, which is, this is taped. And so I could at night listen to your very calming voice as I go to sleep. But then my wife would ask, who's that woman? And I'd say, well, I met her on the internet. And then I'd have to practice other types of techniques to get calm again.
Then you would need to use the marital portion of the marital counseling portion of my training. Yes.
Your voice is amazingly calming, just your voice.
Thank you.
And I really felt it. I felt relaxation. And I'm not always very relaxed. So I found that this was really quite good. And it doesn't take an inordinate amount of time. It's something you can just do. And so on the days where I heard that I need $5,000 to repair my septic system, and the same day that my Bosch dishwasher lost its mind, and I'm getting really agitated, I think I could do this.
Yes,
Yeah.
you could absolutely do this. Now, I want to clarify here that meditation is a practice. And so it's not designed to be something that you use as an intervention when you're stressed. Some of the other skills that I've taught you are designed to be interventions, like the Havening, like the 4 square breathing. The more you practice anything, the better you're going to be at it. But mindfulness is meant to teach your brain to rewire itself. And that rewiring happens over time. And that's why it is a daily practice. So I don't want you all to run off from this presentation and think that if your Bosch dishwasher goes haywire and your house falls apart, that you can simply sit down and, as George in Seinfeld said, serenity now, and expect that to happen, okay? But over time, if you have a meditation practice, and that's what these 8-week courses are designed to do, to kind of create a foundation for you and a daily practice so that you can use these skills in a moment of stress, and other skills that are less involved than, say, sitting down and meditating. There are some quick skills that you can learn in a mindfulness course that will teach you that, such as stop, breathe, and be, or 20 breaths. And that's a teaser. If you want to join the course, you'll learn more. But a lot of these skills that I've taught you today, you can use.
Can you just stay with these skills? Or if you're a compulsive personality, you say, oh, I'm going to get really, really good at this, and I'll take all these courses. I mean, could that be counterproductive, or is it going to be even more helpful?
So I'm one of those folks that runs anxious, and I'm also very compulsive about learning as much as I can. And what I can tell you is, for me, it's informed me tremendously. Where it becomes counterproductive is the intention that you put behind it. So if you are frenetically trying to learn these things, then you're no longer, it's counterintuitive, right? Because it's like you're so compulsive about learning it that you're not really relaxing. Okay, so I would rather you learn one skill and pursue it without compulsivity or some kind of frenetic attitude, and really relax into it, rather than amassing lots of different skills. Having said that, having a toolbox for stress reduction is a wonderful resource to have. And the more skills that you can fill it with, the better off you are. Because when you're in line at the grocery store, you may not want to stand there like this. You know, people may look at you weirdly or like this. But if you know 4-square breathing or any of the breathing techniques, they would be more applicable. Whereas if you're going to give a speech or you're going to enter a stressful mediation, then havening might be more appropriate because you're going to be alone and it doesn't matter what you're doing. You know, people won't see it. The idea is to learn skills, fill your toolbox, and then find the ones that work best for you. Not everything I taught today is going to work equally for every person in the room. And different people might find different skills more effective for them. So if you like one more than the other, I encourage you to practice that.
So I'm sure you can find a million YouTube videos about this.
You
these
can.
kinds of skills.
You absolutely
What's the advantage of working with a person like yourself as opposed to just watching a YouTube video?
So that is such an excellent question, Carl. And I get asked this all the time. And I see it when people come to me to sign up for the course. Many, many people have tried meditation on their own. And the problem is when you try it on your own, things get in the way. And it's rare that an individual has enough dedication and commitment to practice this skill on their own and keep up the practice. Often we wander away from it. I mean, you can see it in your own lives, you know, anything you've done, if you've gone to PT for any area of your body, and if you're over a certain age, most of us have been to PT for one area of our body. And after a while, even though we're given these wonderful stretching routines, we fall off. Other things become priorities and we just stop doing them. If you look at our commitment to our workouts, right? We go to a gym, we go for a while, it falls off. Some of us are lucky enough to really commit and stay with it, but most of us don't. And so something like an 8-week practice where you're practicing every day and you're beholden to the group. You're going to come back every week for a class and you're going to report on your progress. That seeds the practice and that gets you into the habit. And after 8 weeks, you are really feeling the effects of a meditation practice. And it's easier to stick with it on your own after that or to join other groups, right? There's lots of ways to keep your practice up. There's nothing wrong with a video online. And there's certainly many, many apps that you can subscribe to. And again, if you have the stick-to-itiveness, go for it. But lots of people prefer taking the class.
This question was in chat. Will the recording be sent to those of us who were on this Zoom? Yes, all these webinars are recorded. They are all on NJAPM's YouTube video channel, which you can just find by Googling that. And they are generally up within a week or two. Barbara Lighting, who was part of today, is key in getting the covers for them. And then Alan Ehrlich actually takes it from Zoom and puts it up on YouTube. They've been excellent in getting them up really promptly. So just check back in about a week or two, and you will find this webinar up on YouTube. Okay, so.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes.
First of all, thank you, Hope, for the great presentation.
You're welcome.
So I have my clients and things are getting a little bit heated. And I say, well, I'm going to talk about something to bring the temperature in the room down. I suggest we try and do the washing face. I like that one. how do I bring that up without looking like I'm a, you know, a new age sensitive person trying to change my clients versus just trying to give them a, you know, a tip that might make the session more productive, because obviously when things get heated, you know, no one's thinking, everyone is operating on cortisol and all that other stuff that doesn't help.
Right, right. So first, I would say consider your audience and consider the kinds of people that you're working with. People who are closed-minded may not take to washing the face, right? It takes a certain level of openness to do a movement like that in front of other people, but they may be more open to a breathing exercise. Other people might be open to that, so it depends. But I would say to them exactly what you said. It feels like temperatures are rising here. The room's getting a little heated. So I'd like to suggest that we take a break and we do some breathing together. And I like the 4-square breathing, or even the 4-6 breathing, because it's so easy. And you can just teach them. Let's breathe in together for 4 seconds and breathe out for 6 seconds, and close our eyes as we do this. And let's just breathe this way for several moments, and I'll signal you when it's time to stop.
That's good in a sense. You can just say, let's just take a minute or 2 minutes out of the session and do a little breathing, and then just get right back into it, so that they know there's a limit. It's not, they're not going down some path that is, especially if they're paying for the time they're going to feel.
Exactly. And I think it's important to add what I did at the end. I'll signal you when it's time to stop, because often when people don't know that someone's going to end this for them, they're kind of opening one eye, and they're self-conscious, and they're not getting the full benefit of the relaxation because they're wondering when it's going to end.
So you should ask them to close their eyes as they do this breathing.
I would say, if you're comfortable, you're invited to close your eyes, but you may leave them open if you're not. You know, if people are anxious and they're feeling threatened, sometimes asking them to close their eyes is a stretch, because there has to be a certain level of trust in the room to do that. And they may feel more comfortable keeping them open.
All right, so it's something that I'm going to say with your permission. If, you know, let's just try this for 2 minutes, and then we'll get back into this topic.
I think what is really utilitarian is if you know that a client is anxious before a mediation, is to do some of this work before it begins. It's great preparatory work. And that's where I like, in the havening technique, I can choose to be kind. I can choose to be patient, right? I watched one of your videos. It was a mock mediation. And the woman was suing because her employer had asked her to come into work, and she contracted COVID, and a number of her family members contracted COVID. And unfortunately, her dad passed away. And so the client, Michelle, was very antsy, and she kept interrupting and saying, hey, when is it my time to talk? I thought I had a chance to talk here. And so, you know, first of all, an explanation, which I'm sure you guys do, that you will have your time to talk in advance, but also this preparatory of, I can be patient, I can be calm, I can wait my turn. And just doing the havening could help a lot preparing a client like that enter a mediation.
Thank you.
I think the trick is being able to do that without your client thinking you're some new age nut, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think if you bring this up with confidence and everyday language, it will go a long way towards kind of combating that judgment, right?
Right.
Yeah, you can say, this is something I do with all my clients, and it just gets us calm and relaxed. You can even invite them, with the simple induction of what I did with the meditation, although I think I did that later in the meditation, but, just feeling your feet on the floor, feeling them make contact with the floor, feeling the seat underneath you, supporting you, and then feeling the breath in the body, just as simple as that. Can be very, very helpful.
Do we have any other questions? Because we're at 1 o'clock. If no one has a question, Hope, I want to thank you very much. It was really excellent.
Oh, you're
I feel a
welcome.
lot better.
It was my pleasure.
And so I'm sure that everyone else is going to feel a lot better too. And I hope we all use these exercises, or some of them, with our clients, because God knows they can use them too.
We
So,
all can, especially in this day.
yeah. Well, many thanks again. And maybe you'll see some of us in your course.
Okay.
Thank
Take
you.
care, everyone. Thank you.